Israel threatens America with nukes. Israel, the only Middle Eastern country with nuclear weapons, is retaliating to American threats to withdraw U.S. support in the United Nations. President Obama and White House officials have stated that America will discontinue blocking the world majority ruling to sanction Israel for war crimes and acknowledge the state of Palestine. Resolutions only America and Australia oppose versus 193 voting world members. Some newly elected far-right Jewish Knesset members in the Netanyahu-controlled coalition, who have helped re-elect the prime minister, have stated that anyone who threatens the security of the Jewish state is an enemy to Israel and a friend to our final solution. Netanyahu opposes recognizing the state of Palestine, a two-state solution pursued by both Republican and Democratic presidents in the America since Israel's inception in 1948. This newer escalation and intimidation between Israel and America has prompted the American government to also propose lifting its opposition of the IAEA inspectors to enter Israel as done in Iraq and Iran, signaling to the coalition of Arab allies such as Jordan and Egypt fighting ISIS that America does not play favoritism with one country more than another with secret nuclear arms in the Middle East. Unnamed sources in the Obama administration stated that the days of unconditionally standing on the side of Israel are gone, like South African apartheid. President Obama devoted his whole life to equality by treating Middle Easterners, Jews, and Arabs equally, will also lower the animosity of nearly 2 billion Muslims towards America. The top complaint by the 49 Muslim countries from Asia to Africa against America has been the perceived blind support to Israel's apartheid war crimes. Israel secretly began building a nuclear reactor and reprocessing plant in the late 1950s in Dimona. In 1986, Mordechai Vanu, a former Israeli nuclear technician, provided explicit details and photographs to the Sunday Times of a nuclear weapons program, stating there are nearly 300 nuclear warheads in Israel. It is estimated that Israel has the ability to deliver them by intermediate-range ballistic missile, intercontinental ballistic missile, aircraft, and submarine-launched cruise missiles, giving the Israelis multiple options to strike America. Israel has a long history of attacking Americans in both public and covert tactics. Israeli terrorists have killed and caused the death of thousands of American men, women, and children in the United States and worldwide. FBI officials have documented more than 18 Israeli terrorist bombing attacks in America and half a dozen attempts to drag America into wars, as when Israeli military agents gave false evidence to the Bush administration, deceitfully claiming Iraq had WMDs. Besides the covert death of more than 5,000 American soldiers by Israel's lobbying America into war with Iraq, as Netanyahu is doing again with the Republicans towards Iran, Israel has also directly attacked U.S. military. In 1967, the Israeli Air Force launched an unprovoked attack on a U.S. Navy ship that was monitoring Israel from the safety of international waters in the Mediterranean. 34 U.S. servicemen and civilian analysts were killed. Another 171 were wounded. Netanyahu hypocritically addressed the Republican Congress before his re-election, stating that if Iran obtains nuclear weapons, it would cause an arms race in the Middle East, where other countries in the region would feel the need to also have nuclear weapons. Nancy Pelosi later said that speech made her want to cry because of how stupid does Netanyahu think the Americans are. Even some members of the far right and former presidential candidate Pat Buchanan said Israel having 300 nuclear warheads and Iran having none, who's the real threat? A few generals in the U.S. Pentagon are warning that Israel is operating similar to ISIS, but with nuclear weapons at their disposal. Both Israel and ISIS proclaim to be a religious state, with Israel commonly known as the Jewish state and ISIS claiming to be the Islamic State. Both were traumatized and radicalized by years of fighting, from Hitler Germany to Bashar Syria, creating their own religious state by any means necessary for solace. Secondly, the identical tactic ISIS and Israel use for massive eviction of civilians from territories. Israel uses indiscriminate deadly force to expel anyone based on their devotion to Judaism. Like ISIS, Israel has captured hundreds of miles of territory seen illegally by the United Nations to fulfill a religious text claiming the rightful Jewish state is from the Nile to the Euphrates. Lands owned by non-Jews for more than 1,000 years have been captured and occupied by radical Jews using the threat of death and terrorism. So stealing land for a religion is an oxymoron that both ISIS and Israel share. The third matching characteristic between ISIS and Israel that a growing number of Muslims are broadcasting is apartheid. Both states practice segregation and discrimination to the extremes, where Israel has 50 state laws and bills that, according to the Palestinian Israeli Human Rights Organization, Adalah, either privilege the Jews or directly discriminate against non-Jews. Thus, with the love goggles off, Israel is ISIS with nukes. Therefore, Israel threatens America with nuclear weapons in multiple means. First, in the words of Netanyahu, by inciting a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, endangering American allies, interests, embassies, and U.S. troops. Secondly, having a stockpile of 300 nuclear warheads in the center of the Middle East, with a growing hostile region and Israel having more than 100 security breaches per year, is a threat to America if Al-Qaeda or ISIS seizing a neighboring warhead from Israel, as ISIS has taken control of American weapons in Iraq. Third, using the nukes as a form of intimidation to continue supporting Israeli atrocities and making America guilty by association to the world. As with Russia and North Korea, Israel is opening a new war front as an enemy to America with nuclear weapons, cementing the way to sanctioning Israel to force an end to the nuclear arms race and threat from the Middle East.